Cool.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, we hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe. So welcome to our November Startup Grill. We thought to bring it back this month to just keep the community engaged and inspired, even during these hard times. So let me introduce our guests for today. So we have first off Abdo Achkar. So Abdo is a global investor and entrepreneur. He's the visionary founder of Sowlutions, which is a tech for equity startup, and he brings a lot of expertise in over a decade of Silicon Valley expertise, and he's invested in over 30 startups in various industries around the world. So we're really happy to have you with us, Abdo, always. And the startup that is getting grilled today is Kizana. So Kizana is actually one of our 2024 Build and Accelerate cohort. And it's represented by Joe Yazbek. So Joe is the co-founder and CEO of Kizana, which is a fashion tech startup, innovating how consumers engage with fashion through advanced technology. So Joe brings strong technical expertise, and he's driving Kizana's vision with his knowledge in tech, basically, and business development. We also have Hani, who's also a co-founder in Kizana. So the Startup Grill is like an impromptu investor meeting. Abdo will be asking Joe his questions so that he can assess the startup from an investor's point of view, and he'll be sharing his thought process with us as he goes. I'll have to ask the audience to please remain muted so that we don't disrupt the flow of the meeting, and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end of the session. Thank you for attending and looking forward. Abdo, the floor is yours.
Cool. How's it going, Joe? You doing well?
Good, man. And you? What's up?
Good. Cool. Do you want to introduce yourself to the audience? We're gonna try to simulate it as close as possible to in person, but I'm liking the format, especially that I can share my notes and it'll be visible. So yeah, go ahead, Joe. Introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you, Nahla, and thanks, Abdo, for the opportunity. So my name is Joe Yazbek. I'm co-founder and CEO at Kizana, where we're building a digital wardrobe application to revolutionize the way people think about their daily fashion needs. I started out my career, I would say, as a software developer. This is where I gained my technical expertise. I was into coding, data modeling, etc. Then I moved into what we call the world of consulting. I was working in Big Four digital transformation consulting firms. And at one point in time, I wanted to go into the entrepreneurial, let's say, road. I had a lot of different support experiences in other startups that some of my friends started. So I was just like fooling around bits and pieces. And back in 2023, sitting with my co-founders, Bana, Hani, and Ayman, we started Kizana. So kind of went into this whole journey. And here we are getting grilled by none other than Abdo.
Cool. So I started taking notes. So usually, so you said you're 4 co-founders, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then you are technical. This usually gives me a plus, especially when we're talking about, like, I don't know if you're a consumer or business to business. So tell us more about Kizana. What is the product? Yeah. What's the company?
Currently, so Kizana started out as a digital wardrobe application. Currently, it's a B2C application solving the problem of I have nothing to wear. We understood that a lot of people wake up in the morning, they have nothing to wear. They open their closet, they have nothing to wear. So in order to actually
This is
validate
me.
so that's good, because what we did is that we went and validated this problem with a survey of 900 people, right? Those people, those users actually told us that it takes them more than 15 minutes a day to choose an outfit, which seems a small number, right? But if you kind of couple it with lack of inspiration, if you couple it with underutilizing your wardrobe, only 20 to 30% of the items are utilized, it's a problem. So we translated this problem, and it's not that we have nothing to wear. We have a lot, but we don't know how. So this is where Kizana comes in. Kizana will enable you to, first of all, create your digital wardrobe, let you visualize it, let you have access to it at any point in time. Second thing, it will enable you to create manually and style yourself your outfits, mix and match on a virtual fitting room. And whenever in need, you'll have access to an AI fashion stylist. This is where AI will come in hand. It will read your preferences, read your wardrobe, and it will recommend outfits for you. So this is the current form of Kizana. And I'm saying current because, as you know, Abdo, we're pivoting and moving into the B2B2C side of things. We can kind of discuss this in a bit.
Okay, cool. Definitely we have to discuss the pivot because it's a different type of positioning, right? If you want to say B2C, I can go and grill for, a good while, right? Because B2Cs are usually the most complicated parts of the world. B2B2C makes it much easier. It's a good distribution channel. So tell us a bit about, what are you guys pivoting into? Before we pivot into B2B2C, tell us how was the experience with B2C? What did you discover? What are you guys up to, etc.?
So again, as I said, we started as a digital wardrobe application. We bootstrapped our way into building the B2C app. And in the B2C app, it enabled us to, I know you're a technical guy, I'm going to go into a bit of technicalities. It enabled us to innovate. So this is where we started looking at the computer vision side of things and the Gen AI side of things. We built our image segmentation model that goes and kind of segments an image and will understand the clothes, the attribute, etc. We've built and fine-tuned our LLM, which is based on the Gen AI LLMs out there, and we were able to get a good outfit recommendation engine. So this entire kind of B2C product started those two engines. Then we coupled those two engines in a front end that is developed on Flutter for iOS and Android. We launched our B2C app, and at the beginning of the launch, I would say as a beta testing, we understood that there is a gap. People don't have time to upload their clothes because what we're telling them is upload your clothes, have access to them, and then style yourself. A lot of users came to us and said, guys, we don't have time. We want to upload, it's neat, it's cool, we would do that on our free time, but we don't have free time, right? So you guys are trying to solve this. So this is where we said, okay, fine, we have a problem, and this problem can be solved in different, let's say, from different areas. So the first area is we can enhance the user experience. So we thought about how can we actually enhance the B2C user experience. We thought about making maybe bulk upload. Instead of uploading one clothes, one item, you can upload multiple images directly from your gallery. We thought about maybe this is where we can use affiliate marketing or a web scraping to be able to get different items or fashion items directly from the web on the app. And this is where, when we started thinking about that, we started looking at actually the businesses. So fashion businesses have their data ready. They have it segmented. They use it for marketing. It's out there. It's linked. It's neat. It's visually pleasing, etc. So we said, why not take advantage of whatever businesses are doing? And we started looking at what businesses lack. So if we look at businesses, fashion businesses, let's talk about Zara, for example. Zara has around 0.5% online turnover, meaning out of 1,000 users, only 0.5% of them actually buy something. And this increases maximum to 2% in sales. So it shows us that actually those brands have a hard time targeting users. Their customer cost of acquisition is very high. They pay a lot on marketing. They pay a lot on getting consumer behavior data to be able to understand their user and target. So this is where Kizana decided to switch from B2C to B2B2C. And I can stop here, or I can discuss about how the B2B2C will look.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Perfect. So currently, Kizana is targeting one aspect, which are basically consumers or users. But what we want to position Kizana is as a fashion hub, bridging the gap between businesses and consumers. When we talk about businesses, we're talking about fashion e-commerce platforms. We're talking about other fashion tech players, such as players that are into renting out clothes, players that are into styling, players that are into virtual, augmented reality and virtual reality, players that are into, especially now in the UAE, a lot of reselling, luxury reselling clothes, etc. So this is where Kizana wants to kind of utilize whatever we started as a digital wardrobe application, keep the personalization aspect of we are creating your digital wardrobe as a user. However, we're enabling you to be able to connect it in the entire fashion ecosystem to those big fashion platforms or fashion players. So Kizana will start as a digital wardrobe application. However, the user will be able to mix and match different items from different brands that have collaborated with Kizana directly on the app. We're going to be able to create those outfits. Those outfits are going to be created. The AI will be able to generate a lot of different outfits. And instead of going and buying one item, the user will be prompted to go and buy an outfit. This outfit can be bought from different brands. We're working on some kind of payment aggregator, one seamless journey for the user. So this is one use case, right? Another use case is those big fashion platforms, such as reselling, such as virtual fitting room, try-ons, etc., also have a hard time acquiring users. So we said, why not bring them into the picture and also add them as a service, right? So you'll be able to kind of, again, this is a vision, right? So we'll be able to mix and match different fashion platforms, and Kizana will act as a fashion hub, bridging the gap again between businesses and consumers.
Okay, so you're completely changing the use case of the app. Okay, Hala, when we're talking about pivoting, we have the same, or actually different set of questions that we're going to try to validate, that we don't know whether it's going to work, et cetera, et cetera. Why haven't you addressed the initial problem? Like, how many users did you have initially?
So I would say we did a test run or go to market. We got around 400 users.
Okay, that's not a bad number to get started with.
It's not. And to this day, we have around 20 weekly users. So that's actually a number of people are actually using the app. We don't have paid users because we made it free. We are addressing, so to your question, we are addressing the problem. And how we're addressing the problem, we're working on, as I said, some kind of enhancement. So the first enhancement we worked on is a bulk upload segmentation. What we're enabling the user now, it's currently in kind of final development, is upload your entire gallery and it will segment it for you in the background. So no need to do this ahead. So you have a lot of pictures of yourself, right? So this is one thing. Another thing we're working on is trying to see if we can go and scrape the web, because scraping the web is a bit, there's a lot of data privacy issues. We don't know if we can kind of show the image, etc. So we're trying to look around different areas of opportunities here when it comes to web scraping. So those are two things that will enable us to kind of be able to enhance the B2C. Another point of view that we're also looking at is enhancing the user experience, or I would say gamifying it. So how are we looking at gamification? One thing is that instead of prompting you to style yourself, we're prompting you to tell us what are you actually doing. So the AI will directly recommend outfits for you. Let's say, oh, I'm going on a vacation, I'm going to the Bahamas. The AI will understand the Bahamas, will understand the different colors that will, and the gradients that are there, and it will.
We'll get back to the ideation, because like you have a lot of ideas, right? And you're trying various different types of sectors. How they function is very different. So let's evaluate the team. Okay, so let's start with the team as we usually do. Okay. You've given us a good enough idea about the product, how it works. The pivot directions are many. Okay. You're super early stage in here, so the team is what matters the most, as everybody knows already, right? So you're 4 co-founders. How old are you guys, and how do you know each other? Like, let's start with how you know each other.
So we know we're friends. We're best friends. We started out as friends. We started. I know Ayman. Ayman knows Bana. Bana knows Hani. So this is where we started our entire, let's say, journey. We started out as having a lot of ideas. So this is not the first idea we thought about. And then all of a sudden we were sitting in the living room, and one of our co-founders, Bana, was like, I'm going back and forth between Lebanon and Dubai. I don't know what to wear. I have a lot of clothes in Lebanon, a lot of clothes in Dubai. So this is where we started actually working on this idea. It didn't start as I have nothing to wear. It started, I have a lot of clothes between different countries. So this is where we started Kizana. Our average age is around 29, and we come from different backgrounds.
Okay. Have you built anything together before, or is this the first company?
First time.
Okay, so first company. Uh, and have you worked together? Like, it doesn't have to be first company. Have you worked together before? Like, it could be at another company.
Me and another co-founder, Ayman, we worked together before, yes. So this is where we understood
Okay.
that there's some kind of synergy between us, because we worked together for 2 years and we were, let's say, I would say, colleagues before becoming friends.
Okay. Also, so you've worked together, partially worked together before. Are you all like, who's full timing? Who's still at work? How are you guys behaving? Like, how does it look?
So currently we're all part-time, okay? We all have our full-time jobs, but we're going the extra mile and kind of working, instead of doing the 9 to 5, we're going the 5 to 11 or 12, and we're trying to take Kizana forward.
Okay, cool. So let me tell the rest of the audience here why I'm asking these kind of questions, and how these fall usually under the proper place. For a B2C product, usually, at least from my assessment, the way I look at things, I don't mind people remaining part-time at least until they get some funding, because it allows the B2C product to take its time. It's very complicated to do a B2C product and fit the market. Usually it takes a long time before it fits. Okay. So this is fine. It's a first company you build together. This adds a lot of risks. We don't know, like, if you guys will fight when something substantial starts happening. You're still part-timers, so there's not much fighting that's going to happen right now. Probably just, discussing products. You're excited. You're all happy. You're discovering your entrepreneurial journey with a technical product. So it's not too much fights, but if this gets super serious, I don't know how you guys would handle this together, because you haven't built a product together. Okay. Another thing is, like, you've moved from consultancy, or you're still in consultancy, but at the same time, you're building this company. Okay. This is a very different type of journey, and you've probably started noticing this. It looks very different. You haven't lived the real risks. Usually, from what I noticed, most people that come from consultancy and are switching to a company find it really, really hard to leave, the consultancy world and go into the startup world exclusively, because of a certain lifestyle they get used to. Okay, what makes you different? Are you going to be able to live on less money when you're doing the startup world? All of you. Go ahead. Tell me. Like, mitigate my risk the way I'm thinking about it.
So why did we start Kizana? So if you ask us, why did we start Kizana? The first thing that comes to at least my mind is that I want to build my own product and I want to make an impact. Okay, by working in consultancy, by working at anywhere as a corporate job, I'm not making an impact. I'm just a number. And I grew up, people saying to me when we kind of finished the university, finished the UB, they're saying to me, you're going to become a number. And I was like, of course not. I'm not going to become a number. I'm going to make a name for myself. However, when we started corporate and we started consulting, I noticed that, yes, I am a number. I'm replaceable. So this is where my mind always was like, no, Joe, you want to make a name of yourself. You want to try and make an impact. So this is where the entrepreneurship side started to kind of form. And now you ask me, why Kizana? Why go into the, let's say, fashion tech industry? Why choose the team? Because first of all, it's fun. It's a cool market to be in. There's a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of friends in the community, from different influencers, from people that work in fashion and photography, that can support us. And the team has a very good synergy. So you talked about fighting. We fought. And I think fighting is important because you have 4 decision makers and you have different decisions that are being taken. And we found the right, I would say, rhythm or process to be able to take the decisions, because every person or every co-founder has a skill, and this skill is not found in other people. So for example, we have marketing skills, we have leadership skills, we have operational skills, we have technical skills, we have financial skills. So as you said, there's a lot of things in a startup that you need to take care of, and having the different access to skills enabled us to be able to tackle this world of startups.
Okay, so you're describing it like, a first-time entrepreneur. Okay, so this is how I see it. Like, it's fun, it's cool, it's with friends, we want to do something, want to do an impact. What makes you different? And okay, and one of the things that is useful is what you guys have as assets. And there's a big difference between, fun, cool, and friends, and assets like influencers, photographers, whatever. So these are basically assets. I'll put a little bit of plus here. These are more like,
I'll answer the why we are different. So I didn't answer it fully. So I was talking about why Kizana, but if I want to answer the fact that why are we different? First thing is that we have a community of people that support us when it comes to the fashion industry. We met a lot of people in different, let's say, fashion ecosystems, and that's why we're looking at the fashion businesses as a whole, because we have
you should already know that having communities is not enough, because you only have 29 users on a weekly basis, right? So because if everybody wanted to support,
agreed. But the thing is, Abdo, is that we didn't go to market yet, right? So
why not?
Why not? Because we looked at our churn rate, we looked at the people and users are not actually using the app, and we said, let's try to actually pivot and work on something that people want to use. So this is why we actually didn't go to market.
Are you fixing the wrong problem, or are you? So you're before pivoting usually, okay? So there's a set of hypotheses that you can have about the archetype of the users that you have, right? You've determined that the user basically finds it a little bit hard to index their clothing, okay? This is one hypothesis that you had in the beginning, and you just validated it, okay? Which is fine, it's normal, okay? It's a consumer product, okay? Do you guys have a long list of stuff that you can validate, or what are you guys working at? I know we're getting into product here, guys. Usually, we're talking more about team, but when we're talking about a consumer product, consumer products are the most complicated, right? To get to consumers, you need to make sure we're doing a product market fit. To do a product market fit, it doesn't have to fit right away. We need to make sure that we have a right process, and how you guys are basically checking off like one process at a time, or one item at a time, okay? So I think I'm hearing myself on the pad. All right, cool. So we have, what other stuff that you need to validate? You have a lot of people, you're saying, okay? So why are there no other concepts, or you don't want to validate anymore?
So we validated the problem, but we're validating the product. It's not that we don't want to validate, but we heard and we understood that sticking into B2C, as you said, is going to be a very long journey until you find your product market fit. So in order to, and we don't want to remove the B2C aspect of it, because it's actually very fulfilling. It's amazing to see people interact with your app. It's good. It's amazing to see people come to you and ask you about how you're actually solving their problem, which, by the way, is a big problem, because every time I pitch, people come to me and say, yes, please solve this to me. Yes, please solve it. So the problem is that when people are opening Kizana currently, the problem is not actually solved, because I'm adding another layer, which is letting them upload clothes, and it's another churn point where they say, oh, it takes more time. So instead of actually taking it 15 minutes, I say, actually, it will take you, first time, it will take you more time. However, it will streamline the process in the next next time. So that's why we said, in order to solve this, we can stay in the B2C and, as I said, find other solutions and be able to enhance the user experience, or go and add the B2B aspect that will bridge the gap to consumers. And this is where consumers, so there's one consumer, I don't know if she's on the call, she's a friend of mine. She told me, I want my clothes to appear as magic on the app. And when she said that, I was like, what do you mean magic? There's no such thing as magic. But for me, for us, for Kizana now, magic is brands, it's fashion brands, because the data is already there. So this is why we said, let's go directly to B2B. let's try to incorporate those, collaborate with those brands, and be able to style and solve the problem directly using the B2B, still targeting B2Cs.
Okay, let's flip it in a different way right now, okay? Because like still the B2B2C is another game. You haven't tried it, it's not proven. You don't have a single big client that we have that we can discuss, right? So before we can go and discuss that route, okay, you have a certain, yeah, let's talk about the first one. Like, why haven't we tried, who's your ideal customer? Does it have to be the usual person, or do people share? Like, can somebody else see my Kizana, wala Kizana, whatever you want to call it? Is it public, or is it like just private to me? So tell me more. Like, what do you have that would make me want to? Yeah, go ahead.
So I like where you're going to, and I'm gonna go into the features of B2C that are currently there. I'm gonna go into features of B2C that we are working on. So I want to highlight one thing. It's not that we stopped working on B2C, not the case. So what we're currently doing is that we're enhancing the B2C, but at the same time we are looking at the B2B2C. So for the B2C, currently we have image segmentation that will segment and create your wardrobe. We have an AI fashion stylist. We have a virtual fitting room. In the virtual fitting room, you're able to share your outfits with your friends. It's static, but there's an element of sharing. And you're able to also plan your clothes on a calendar, which, by the way, is one of the most underrated features out there because people want to plan their clothes. So this is what currently we have on the B2C app. What we're working on is enhancing the user experience by, first of all, adding some aspects of personalization. So there's a lot of aspects of personalization you can add, talking about favorite colors, favorite type of clothes, etc. We can talk about as you rightly said, Abdo, the social profiling aspect, creating different profiles, the ability to share a closet or a khizana with other people. So this is also something we're currently looking at and working on. We are working on gamifying the user experience by instead of having a static wardrobe, I want you to create and customize your wardrobe on the app. I want you to customize. So this is kind of features to be able to keep the user on the app. So those are things we're working.
Joe, I think you guys are building a rocket, okay? Instead of like building a rocket, okay, why don't we focus on building a very, very good bike? Okay. So the question, like, I'm seeing a lot of blind spots here that you guys probably are missing. Okay. So I feel like a duty to share a bit, right? So my ideal customer, at least from what I'm looking at the business, would be somebody who has a lot of clothes, has the financial ability to have a helper to index their clothes. Okay. So you guys know a lot of influencers that I suppose would have a lot of clothes, right? So get 20, 30 people, okay, that are really good, and then get them to have somebody index the clothing for them, or hire a person that goes and helps them index theirs, okay? What we need to do is like, how many clothing items do you have on the platform? It's just a number. Like, what is the number that you have right now?
It's more than 3,000.
So you have 3,000 items on the platform right now, okay? Like, this number, is it shown to anybody else, or is it just like semi-private? It is semi-private, right? Okay. So any person that's adding their wardrobe right now is not benefiting the system, right? Because it's not allowing you to shine. Like, it's just self, it's useful to themselves only, right? So do you currently have the ability to have public stuff? Like you said, you should be able to share, but it's all at least private from what I'm understanding. Okay. So in order for you to go and do the job for somebody, okay, you could offer like, hey, you know what? Like, I'll send you somebody who goes to your place, takes a picture of all the clothes that you have. They'll help you out with it. And basically, you'll increase this 3,000 to 30,000 items. Okay. And this is doable within a period of less than 2 weeks. Okay.
So
what you can, yeah.
Can I challenge?
Yeah, go ahead.
why am I challenging? Because this is something we thought about a lot. So we call it the butler service. So one of the things we talked about is that why not, especially as you said, the niche people, especially in the UAE, in the GCC, why not hire a butler? The butler goes to your house, we upload their clothes for them. So there's an overhead here, right? So I'm hiring those
But
people.
waiting is a bigger overhead. Waiting
Okay.
is a bigger overhead, right? So you guys have been waiting for 6 months now. You have the 20 weekly users, 400 users, which is not bad as a consumer product to get started, right? But in order to get the platform to become self-sustainable, it needs to feed off the community, right? By having a product that is not shared, open, and connected, you don't benefit of a community, which means every single person that you're bringing is not going to bring further value to everybody else. Okay. So B2C with no community is dead. Like you will die. Okay. So the only way you can survive in B2C is to have a community. Okay. And the only way to have a community is to have various components, which are very important. One is frequency. Okay. So frequency is very important, right? Frequency of use. If I use it once every month, okay, it means I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to only remember it when it's not useful. Okay. Or I'm going to forget about it over time. The churn will be higher. So frequency is one of the most important aspects. Okay. 2, engagement. And to have engagement, okay, engagement. To have engagement, you need to have community. Okay. Frequency can also be increased by community. Okay. The overhead, the reason we're talking about few other components here, but we're talking about the most important. Okay. The overhead is minor. Okay. So if we're talking about hiring somebody who comes and can index, it can take a day to do the indexing. Okay. This is not expensive labor. This is very cheap labor. Okay. You guys are all consultants. Each one of you guys can chip in $250. Okay. You can hire somebody for $1,000 to go for a whole month indexing people, and you can index like at least 2 people per day with a big wardrobe. Okay. And you can get 30,000 items. Okay. That are indexed in your system, and we can figure out a way to make it public. Okay. So no community is a big minus for me here. I know you want to pivot. I know you want to do something else, but you still haven't fixed the core problem of what I think is the product. Okay. Because even if I'm a brand and I'm coming and I'm telling you like, hey, these are all my products, we're going to have more people, more access to these products. Okay. Which is fine. This is good. You will spare me the hassle of me wanting to go and index all of this. But at the same time, if I only have, I bought one from Zara today, or I bought like a whole wardrobe, as you said, I don't have enough clothes in my Kizana basically to choose what to wear tomorrow. Okay. And I don't have an incentive to create mine because, I'm the only person who's probably doing it. Indexing is a big lift. Okay. But if I start seeing that all the people that are influencing me having their own Kizanas, maybe I can take from theirs. Okay. And they have a bigger incentive. Like if they want to promote theirs, they can sell theirs, right? That's also a hypothesis. Can be wrong. Okay. As we always say, guys, I can always be wrong. Okay. But we need to have a list of hypotheses that we validate. Okay. If we assume that, hey, the friction is the biggest problem, then let's validate it. Okay. So I want to figure out whether friction is the problem or usage is the problem. Okay. We bring in, let's say, 100 people. We do the work for them. Are they going to use it or they're going to churn? So let's get rid of that hypothesis of, onboarding is a problem. Because if onboarding doesn't become a problem, you might be looking in a different place. Like a lot of people in the UAE might not have this problem. They have helpers in the house and they can basically allocate to them. And if they find somebody else doing it, it becomes easier. Okay. So, I think no community is a big minus for me here. You have a bunch of pluses here, like your 4 co-founders, which is okay. It makes it like, if somebody's leaving, you can replace, not like just 2. So this is more stable when it comes to 4 co-founders. A minus is basically it's a first company for you guys. Usually, if you've exited the company, makes it makes it easier for you to exit again. I'm talking from an investment perspective. Creating a business, it's different. You don't have to have exited before. Some people might have created multiple businesses. It works. So this is fine. All part-time is, I don't know whether plus or minus, but given that it's a consumer product, it's a plus, at least in the beginning, as you guys are discovering, because you need a lot of money to get a consumer product out. So this is both a plus and a minus. It can become a minus if you guys are taking too long of a time. It's a plus that you guys can survive for a longer period. So as you've noticed, I'm not asking you about, what's your life, what's your run rate, because you guys are basically, protecting it, covering it. You don't have an issue. You can survive for 2 years, which is a pro and a con at the same time. Okay. Your why is not strong enough. I need to know why. Okay. What is a better why? Like, hey, I want to start a company. I want to have fun with my friends is not a strong enough why in general. Okay. Are you a domain expert? Like, are you an expert in fashion or consumer products, or, is any of your other co-founders an expert? Tell us more about it here.
Definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, the why can be split into two. There's the technical side of things. So we have the technical expertise when it comes to Gen AI and computer vision. And the other part is passion and I would say / marketing. So we have marketing expertise and we also onboarded fashion subject matter expert that supports us in kind of the entire fashion ecosystem, categorizing the clothes, understanding the different market trends, etc.
Okay, so you're saying you're a group of fashion and tech people, and this is what you like this industry. You guys are passionate about it. Okay, I'm not going to question this. This is fine with me. Okay, Hala, in terms of LLMs, are you guys integrating or building your own?
We're currently integrating. We started integrating with OpenAI. Their accuracy dropped. The number of tokens is very high, so we're switching to Gemini now. Gemini 1.5 Flash. We are part of the NVIDIA Inception program, and we currently joined the Google Cloud program. We got access to $100,000 in credits. We're going to use their cloud to fine tune for free.
Okay, cool. Hala, what this means is the tech marketness is growing. Everybody wants to integrate. Everybody wants to bring value. Okay. Jumping on B2B, as you're mentioning, might make sense as well. Okay. Because you might end up building the B2B work for some of these people, or you might be building a platform that these people might use, but it would be a completely different pivot. It wouldn't be like my digital wardrobe, right? This is totally fine for me. Usually a startup is a discovery journey. You're not in here to just solve a problem. You're here to discover and find a problem and solve it for enough people. Okay. Type. So I don't necessarily have a problem with this. Let's talk a bit of numbers so we can show others from an investor's perspective how I'm looking at it. Okay. So are you fundraising right now or not yet? So tell us more about the numbers.
Okay, so we started our fundraising journey. We have $20,000 in grants so far from different competitions. We've been part of different competitions, and now we started our fundraising journey. Our fundraising journey started back in October. We are in talks with two VCs. One of them is into fashion, and the other one is tech. We're raising around $400,000 to be used across a period of 12 months. We're going to be using it mainly to 40% between development, 40% marketing, and 20% for operations.
Okay. So عندك dev, marketing, etc. Okay. هلا the marketing, obviously, you'd market once you see some kind of fit. This is a normal, normal early stage problem. I tell people usually to fundraise before they go to market originally, because now that you've gone to market, you can't tell them, like, I'm going to ask you about traction, right? And I suppose these VCs are early stage VCs. They're not looking for traction yet. They're subscribing based on the team. Okay, so these are the type of VCs usually. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's mainly pre-seed VCs that we're saying, and those are new in the market, at least for me. And they're not asking for numbers. However, what they're asking for is strong technical / fashion expertise because of our industry.
Yep. Yeah. So with the very, very early stage VCs, they care more about the team. Okay, as we usually grill here, guys. The team, the expertise, and this is usually the focus. Okay, traction doesn't necessarily matter the most, because at least at that stage, because they understand you're looking for a fit. Okay, okay, so this is fine. Do you have? Are they like, how do you feel? Because obviously, getting closing health stage is dependent on whether these people like you guys and like your expertise.
So we're feeling good, but the thing is that it's either they say, so you just said early stage, right? It's either they say early stage, which for me comes in and I was like, what do you mean? Do you mean that we didn't go to market yet and we don't have users? Or they say, well, you need to, as you said, validate the B2C, understand that whatever we talked about is not a problem, and then pivot to B2B2C. So I'm going to take a step back before. We talked to investors before, mainly only on B2C, and none of them were interested because every single person was like, B2C will not make money. B2C takes a lot of time, as you rightly said. So when we started injecting the B2B side of things and talking about the B2B2C, this is where people started seeing the opportunities. And I know maybe we talk about investment as only maybe money, but I also want to talk about strategic partnerships, because we're getting a lot of traction when it comes to those strategic partnerships. And what do I mean? I mean e-commerce platforms, other fashion platforms that see our technology as something they would definitely use, and they would like to either integrate or be part of this entire collaboration. So investment is one, angel / VCs, and the other one is kind of strategic.
Tim, so you said you're looking for strategic partners. Have you talked to any?
We're in talks with Shalhoub currently. So Shalhoub Greenhouse Accelerator. And we're still kind of debating how the partnership will look like. It's either going to be that we're going to POC some of their brands as our first B2B2C, or we're going to be part of their strategic, let's say, house where they also fund us and they act as our VC.
Okay, how many brands does Shalhoub have, basically?
Hani, correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe 200 plus. No,
200.
a lot of brands. Like
okay,
Lacoste, Hugo Boss.
Okay, cool. So any other partners you're talking to? And obviously just one is risky, right? So
no, currently but we
Okay.
had other discussions, but we're not actively talking to them.
Okay. Cool. So this is a big plus here, especially if they're engaging with you guys positively. I don't know what's the level of engagement. Somebody with this is a big distribution channel. Somebody who's willing to give you a ticket on allowing you to test with their consumers is a big one, right? This is still like, I don't know how big of a plus this is. Okay. Definitely something that is interesting and important for you guys to pursue and grow. Okay. What I would do usually, I would add a larger list of partners, and I would basically knock them off one by one. Okay. Whether it's just like, a big brand like Shalhoub, or even when we're talking about B2C, we're not necessarily talking about the influencers are not just, a C for me. Okay. There are distribution channels, right? So they're channels, not just consumers. And if you have a lot of access to these, I see like, the network that you've created needs to be 10 times bigger, from adding people to it and getting value. So I would add the influencers here, since you know a lot of these guys, as you said. What other components can we add here? This needs to make this sound.
I think we can fairly say that we've been approached by other fashion platform players. And
Okay.
so, for example, some of them are in styling and they're starting out fresh and they like the digital wardrobe aspect of things. Some of them are into reselling slash fitting. They're also kind of approached us. So those are also players that are coming and saying, hey, we think we can see an integration and we can kind of partner with you guys.
Yeah, but Salah, they're saying they can see an integration, but you haven't defined it yet,
We're
right?
we didn't find it. No.
Yeah. So what are you waiting for from a timeline perspective? Like, when did you decide to start looking at this direction?
On the B2B2C or on this the strategic
B2B2C. B2B2C.
I would say July. This July 2020.
July. Okay. Any reason you haven't prototyped something, or you have?
We haven't prototyped because, again, as you said, we wanted to continue the B2B2C. We wanted to see if the B2C will work. But yeah, we didn't spend, I would
They're two
say,
different products. Yeah, they're two different products.
but we didn't spend, I would say, the right efforts in the right places to be able to validate B2C. So, for example, what you said about indexing and putting those clothes and letting people see and trying to see if actually people would use the app if there are clothes, we didn't do that. And this is a very smart way of kind of testing out if the problem of churn comes from either the problem doesn't exist or the problem exists, but they don't have time to use it because no clothes are on the app. So that's, I think, where we didn't find how to solve this. We tried a lot of different options, but I think this is one thing we should definitely look at.
Are you guys committing capital consistently in the business? Well, when you need something, you just ask each other, like, hey, let's pay X and put it in.
We committed a pool and we're using this pool from the beginning.
So in the beginning, you committed the pool. Do you mind sharing what the pool size is?
$60,000.
Okay, so you guys committed 60,000 amongst yourselves, and this is what you guys are using to get things paid. Okay. It looks like the pool is getting low on money, and this is why you're fundraising right now, right?
It's getting low on money, but it's not only about. So as you said, our op costs are low, gross margin, even if
I understand.
Yeah, so it's because we want to pursue the B2B2C. It's not because we want to stay in the B2C. If we want to stay in the B2C, to be honest, I don't think we need to fundraise. We need to focus on aspects like you talked about. But if we want to go into the B2B side of things, this is where we think we need the funds.
Okay, cool. Type. Something for me that I think would need to be done ASAP is get at least a drawn prototype out and
B2B.
start sharing with the businesses. Having no feedback, especially if you want to pivot into something, before you go and build and waste money and get the pool dry, right? You want to go and validate the concepts. That's at least number one. Who we validate B2B2C quickly, okay?
So quick figure out, go to
this
businesses and validate it from them.
You can do the design and go and validate it, like, hey, this is what we're going to have, this is almost out, it's going to take us X amount of time, we need to learn about you to do it, whatever it is, but you need to go and show something. Okay. Starting with the design is good enough for a lot of businesses. I've seen people sell for over $1 million worth of services on the design for B2Bs. Okay. B2Bs are a very interesting way to go. Okay. So if you have a B2B, you get the product out, you go and test it out. What I'm worried about right now is that all of you guys are busy at work, okay, and are doing this when you call each other at night or whatever. And it's not like, hey, I'm dying to go and do it, right? No one is dying. So this is, although I said it was good on one side, the flip side, and you need to pay attention to it, is, are you getting complacent? Okay. So complacency here for me is a very big problem with the part-time thing. Okay. Complacency, losing hope. Okay. Or not seeing the potential objectively. Let me tell you what I mean by this. Potential usually is felt much bigger before you start. Okay. So you feel it's a big potential. This is the best idea in the world. We love it. After you spend 6 months, you're going to start feeling it differently. You're like, hey, it's much smaller of a potential. So you're less excited. And what you should do is, in the beginning, you should basically tame your emotions because they're so high. And after 6 months, you should actually increase your emotions because, hey, you know what? It's not as bad as you think. You should stay longer because you're going to discover better and you're going to know better. Okay. And I think you're getting to a place where you're not as excited as you should be, which, is wrong. You should get excited again, keep searching. This is why the startup exists. It's to find the problem, to find a solution, to find a market for yourself and grow it. Okay. The way I look at these things, guys, is since you have a technical co-founder, your team is basically building. I would want design, validate. Okay, that would be the first step. When I usually invest, it has to be there's not sometimes I look for traction, sometimes I look for novelty, sometimes I look for frequency. I look for a signal that's matched. I'm not seeing the match just yet. Okay. But it doesn't mean that's not a startup that's looking for a problem. Okay. I like the team. You seem to be energetic, dynamic, smart, have access to doors. Okay. And it's very important. Like you got resourceful, found places to shalhoub. You have access to influencers. You have some people in UAE, some people in Lebanon. You're in consultancy, so you have a lot of people. So you guys can be resourceful, okay? Does it have the right components? I don't know yet, okay? So for me, from a risk perspective, it's still very high. Still in B2C, which is usually very risky. I've done B2C products, okay? Usually you have to put in a range of $4 to $10 million before you can get the product in mainstream. This is the case with most mainstream products, okay? Unless you get something that catches fire, which is very rare. Okay, it doesn't work the usual way. You can work it in a different way. You can bring in the influencers, etc. You can bring in the B2B2C to distribute your B2C, which is totally fine. Okay. So I think I've been a bit objective and nice here. It's not a grilling session as a normal grilling session because B2C products, you haven't found a match. What am I going to tell you? You haven't found a match, go kill yourself. It's not the case. You need to keep searching. You need to find more matches. You need to find better distribution channels, which you're already working on. My concern is you're moving too slowly. You've been waiting since July to get out. This is very concerning for me. You're getting to the valley of despair. I'm really concerned for you guys as a team. You need to get either very excited or get something that's signed really quickly, or you're gonna die. Okay. So you need to sign something, either a channel, partnership, whatever, to get your hopes up again. I think this is dangerous and you need to fix this rapidly. Okay. And then, as soon as you lock something big, somebody needs to make a jump, especially with a B2B deal. Okay. Once you're a B2B deal, it's not like a B2C deal where, people are coming. Somebody needs to call you. You can't be at work. Okay. Somebody needs to make the jump. Okay. And this is where, you need to have real whys to be in. So that's this. And yeah, I would leave the questions for you now.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you. I think so. What you portrayed is something that we're talking about as a team a lot, and I think we know this. We're working towards this. As you said, it starts out amazing, and then there's a lot of ups and downs. It's the journey we're going through. So it's been a year and a bit now, so we've been through a lot of ups and a lots of downs. And the funny thing is that they come like maybe day by day. So one day can be very up and another day can be very down. It's not that it's a month. It's like day by day. It's daily, which is which is ironic. So I have a question when it comes. So I agree on the fact that the B2C is still not validated and it needs to be validated, and there's ways to be validated. And I agree that the B2B2C is another, it's a different thing. But you said something very interesting that I've always said at the end now, is that you use the B2B or the B2B2C to enable your B2C. And I've always talked about this, and I always been a believer in this, because for me, the biggest solution for the B2C is the B2B. So is it wrong? Am I thinking, or is it the right way?
It's not wrong. It's not wrong that you're thinking about it. What's wrong is that you've been waiting too long, right?
Okay. So we waited too long to enable the B2B to go and solve the B2C.
Go for it. Yeah, of course, go for it. Like if you don't have a channel, you're waiting, you're wasting your time. That's like July. July is, 6 months already. Okay. So you have to execute, you have to fire. Okay.
Thank you, Abdo. Thank you, guys. Does anyone from the audience have any questions? Or if you guys have any more, we can have some time for questions. If from the audience, you can just feel free to unmute yourself and talk, or you can just send something in the chat.
Hey guys, good to see you all.
Hi, Arthur.
Yay.
Arthur.
Good. Yeah, I love today's session. I think it was really good. Yeah, we've been discussing the B2B path for Kizana for a while, and I was always a very big pusher of that path for them, because I do believe that from experience, building a B2C consumer platform, especially in fashion, takes a lot of time and a lot of resources. And I think because there are already a lot of platforms out there, the B2B angle, I think, is the most valuable, because your intellectual property lies within the technology that you're building to be able to create the experience, and not necessarily to be the platform that is doing the conversion and the sales, right? So I think potentially that can bring in a lot more money and a lot faster. And it's a quicker exit, because you have less people looking at you as a competition, right? And you have more people looking at you as a solution. So
I like
that's
that.
yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Arthur.
Thank you, Arthur.
That was technically not a question, but okay.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
did ask how you guys were doing, so if you count that as my question, then we're good.
So Abdo, Arthur is going to be our first B2B.
Okay, cool.
We just signed
So
the deal.
Lemonade is gonna be okay.
Oh, send me an offer.
Are you charging him? Are you charging him?
Arthur, I wouldn't charge him, obviously.
Well, that's the wrong answer.
I should charge him? Yeah, charge him. Yeah.
Well, this is, once you're going B2B, okay, don't be afraid to set up a deal out there where you can charge people, okay? Let me tell you why. So let me tell you why, guys, okay? If somebody tells you, hey, I love your product, okay, and you're giving it to them for free, one, they haven't validated the premise that they need the product, okay? If somebody is paying for the product and paying more, it means it's more likely that they care about the product, okay? Especially B2B. Any business that's coming in like, hey, I'll try the product. It's, yeah, if it's free, okay, they're just testing it out. Or even if they're giving you the time to test it out, they don't have enough, reason or skin to test it out. Kifak Sumer, you're raising your hand.
Hello.
Wanna
Yes.
go?
Can I have a comment?
Kif.
Good.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
اليوم عم بسمعك منيح.
good, excellent. If I were to see this at high level, Kizana is a photo-based personal warehouse management and indexing tool that can be used for clothes, but it can be used also for anything else. They can sort tools for a plumber. They can store gear for a hiking team. So being someone who doesn't care about fashion, honestly, and being someone who's a hiker who care about gear and tools, they could focus on a smaller market and actually make an impact. For example, one big problem for hikers, when you go on a hike, summer, winter, mountain, or sea, you have different setup to take with different items. And every time you're confused by the volume and weight to fit in your bag. And here, having a software like yours to manage this stuff is an actual solution. And here you're focusing on a market that's maybe easier to penetrate than going the entire fashion industry, and still within fashion. I'm not an expert on that, but just my general comment.
Yeah, so let me tell you what the problem is here, Sumer, right? So basically, this is the same problem that the guys are facing right now, okay? It's exactly the same problem, which is a confirmation bias. Like, hey, you know what? Like, I do have this problem. I do have the solution. And yes, this solution will fix it. Of course it will, okay? The question is somebody going to take the time to index this? Is it going to be easy for me to find all of these hikers to go and give them the product? 3, if one person from these hikers did the indexing, is it going to create a community, or is it going to be good enough to bring more people in, right? And when you're talking about consumer products and we're talking about a tool, okay, it is very hard to get these people. Distribution gets very complicated. There are some online platforms where you can go and, share your tool, and sometimes it takes off. It doesn't mean like it never works, okay? There are a lot of good tools that take off this way, okay? But the concept of creating niches is important for you, Joe. Okay, so niches is important, as Sumer is mentioning, but it needs to be accompanied with a community. It needs to be accompanied with creating a viral loop where a person brings another person. It needs to be accompanied with frequency. My concern with hiking is I don't hike every weekend, or even professional hikers, I don't know how frequently they hike. And if they do have communities probably already. So from this perspective, maybe you can go and look for these communities and distribute, okay? So if there's a fashion community, you go in the fashion community. If there are hiker communities, you go in the hiker communities. Gear communities, tool communities, plumber communities, okay? So these are, creating a platform usually gets much more complicated from a branding perspective and growth perspective, because like community can't basically understand what the product is there for, okay? It's always better to focus on specific, niches as a product. In your case, you're in fashion in general, and this works. So, man, is what I'm saying making sense? Because, I've seen this before. Like, this is a usual problem with B2C products.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just that the idea to have a niche market test something might be easier to get known. And
of course,
yeah,
of course, but it has to have a community aspect.
I mean, just one thing on that. I agree with Sumer and I agree with you, Abdo. Finding the niche market, but we don't want to find it in something not related to fashion, because there's a lot of niche markets in the fashion industry itself, right? So give you an example. If you look at micro influencers or influencers that do those get ready with me on their Instagram or TikToks, this is a market, right? Those people are actually using their day-to-day outfits to do so. I agree with you, Sumer. We need to find this niche market, go and target them, create the community around them. And hopefully, as Abdo said, this community will talk to the bigger community and the bigger communities, and they will start kind of spreading each other. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Julia?
Julian?
Nahla, I don't know if you want to, but let's allow, if people are hanging, let's allow them to ask.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Julia.
Yes, hello. So, building on the proposal that Sumar just proposed, I was thinking all the way while I'm hearing the discussion of taking it a bit, the kind of a step backward. So, if you target teenagers that are building their wardrobe, and you reach out to businesses that are selling clothes, and they have a kind of synchronization between the app that you're providing and the QR codes that they are buying. So automatically you're building their wardrobe with them. So teenagers between, let's say, 15 and 18 years old, they're eligible to this application, and all the clothes that they are buying throughout these years and the coming years will have their wardrobe built. I mean, purchase after purchase, shopping after shopping, and then you will have you will have a kind of a loyal customer that you have built and hold hands with them since their teenage years throughout their growth, and you're building the wardrobe. I mean, the bigger title is you're building the wardrobe with them.
Guys, here, something for all of you guys to learn about consumer products, okay? Every one of us is going to come up with an idea that feels like, hey, this one's going to work, okay? This is my concern with consumer products, because every time we come up with an idea, it feels like this is the one that will work, okay? So what needs to be done with, but probably Joe can basically say what I'm talking about here, because you've probably been doing it for a whole year, and every time you say, hey, this one will work, you try to validate it and it doesn't, right? Not everybody here has built consumer products, and they will get to what I'm talking about once they spend about a year trying to iterate on ideas, okay? So the way we do consumer products is we have ideas and we put them in a Tableau and we validate them, okay? So it would be a bunch of ideas. I don't care what the idea is, you just put the ideas. But outside the realm of ideas, there should be always prerequisites, okay? One, to have a viral loop, okay? If you don't have a community, there will be no viral loop, okay? There will be no viral loop. Almost 99.9% of the world will not basically recycle the idea unless it has a community behind it, okay? Especially, we're talking about community products, okay? There could be exceptions, but I'm talking about like the likelihood being super, super slim, okay? There must be a community. There must be a virality ratio. Virality ratio means a person's going to bring another 1.x people or 2 people. If a person brings 2 people, then you're virally growing, okay? So CACs need to be very low, okay? If we're talking about like acquiring people, it needs to be reasonable to acquire the people. Okay, we're talking about 15-year-olds. How do we go? We go to schools, we tell them index your clothing at school. طيب, خلقنا community, yes, there's a community, cool. How do we engage them? We need to engage them. So all of these ideas, we need to bring them, put them in a Tableau, but we need to have it in a parallel Tableau that basically shows us how to create the community, create the virality, and then keep feeding it in, okay? So keep this in mind, guys. Anytime we have a consumer product, you want to add these concepts to it, okay?
And one thing to add here, Abdo, every single day there's a new idea. And every single day, this new idea complements, you think that it complements whatever you're building. And then you try to implement it or even think about it, think about how it will complement your process, and it doesn't. And when we started, Julian, just on your point, we thought about digitizing your wardrobe using IoT, using QR codes. We even looked at your clothes. There's a small QR code or barcode or whatever. It's not universal. It's not out there. It's private data, etc. So, I mean, as Abdo said, there was a long list of ideas, and we had to remove one by one based on the feasibility. Before validating even, it was feasibility, and then we went and validated. And we validated the problem, but I don't think the solution was yet validated or not validated.
something else, guys, to keep in mind also with consumer products. So we validate something and it fails. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't succeed in the future. So time changes. Okay. So you might want to keep this list. Don't discard it. Okay. Always go back to it because the times change, the parameters change, and now that if you have certain influencers, for example, joining the game, whatever was wrong in the past might become true today. Okay. So keep the list of hypotheses that you guys have, because you will figure out that you might need something in the future. Okay.
That's funny you said that, Abdo, because there was a startup, I think back in 2015 or 16, called Top Shoe that tried to do the same thing as we're doing. And there was no Gen AI. And now it's easier to do styling with Gen AI.
Yep.
So this is where kind
Yep.
of time changes.
Yep.
Yeah, but I actually know Top Shoe. I was there when she created that company.
Okay.
They actually did scale it to about 15,000 users, but their problem was mostly the repeat users, right? So it didn't have the stickiness. It didn't have the need for people to keep on coming back. So that was the main issue that they had at that point. And they weren't even focusing on onboarding brands. They were mostly scraping. So it was larger sets of outfit options. So yeah, because again, people are not gonna check the wardrobe every single day, right? On the app. So they might do it for a very specific event. So your problem is, how do I solve for seasonality? How do I solve for events, right? So how do I make sure that my platform is something people use at least once a week, versus they're just going to check it when they have a big event or a season coming up. And that's usually the problem with fashion. Sorry,
Yeah.
to finish it. The problem with it's seasonal, right? So you have specific shops that come out, and people usually do most of their shopping in 3 big phases: summer, winter, and holiday gifts. You're smiling,
Yeah.
Abdo.
I'm smiling because I didn't know the seasons. I don't buy clothes. You know this already, so
I know that a bit too well.
yeah,
I could
yeah,
always predict we're going to show up to an event.
Abdo, are you wearing flip-flops? Are you wearing flip-flops?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
Because
But now I'm barefoot. Now I'm barefoot. But
okay. So بالبيت بتصير barefoot.
Hey.
By the way, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to get shorts, a shirt, and flip-flops and put them on Kizana and show them to you and say, here you go, this is your outfit.
Yeah. The reason, sorry, Arthur, I was trying to interrupt here because I think with the AI aspect of what Joe has, I don't know if it's an expected consumer behavior, but if if Kizana basically every morning would send me a notification saying, "Hey, this is your wardrobe for the morning," and then it learns about my behavior, maybe it can increase usage. Which wasn't probably a solution back in the day, where the recommendations weren't that good. But again, if there's no community aspect, it gets very complicated. But if it shows me what Arthur's putting on today, and basically I'm not the creative kind of person, but you know what, like I'd like to copy Arthur, and Arthur's okay with that, then hey, Arthur's putting on this, or I can follow various people that are open for this. Then you can create some kind of a community that's starting to basically come more often. You have 400 users, you need to get probably 50 a week or 100 a week. Okay, if you can get 100 a week, then increasing the 400 becomes easier. I'm not necessarily focusing on the consumer aspect of it, but even when you have a B2B2C aspect of it, you still need to find a way to keep the consumers coming, because the businesses are not going to be happy just like for the consumers to be on their website and just choosing the product and that's it. Okay, so you have to increase engagement on your app. To increase engagement on the app, you need to figure out how the consumer basically actually behaves. Okay.
Can I use this to ask a question, since we're all here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're
So,
remote. We don't have anyone who's gonna kick us out of the auditorium. So
so Abdo and Arthur, I think this question is directly related to you guys. So we talked about B2C, we talked about B2B2C. One of the things that we're thinking a lot and people are coming for us, and I think I mentioned it, is SaaS. I know it's B2B, but SaaS is again a different player. Okay. What do you think about SaaS? Is SaaS I'm gonna stop you because yeah, and because
no, B2B SaaS is one of the most lucrative industry. Okay.
Okay.
If you can get a B2B SaaS and somebody to subscribe and take it and use it and come up with a good formula, you're onto a gold mine. Okay. And that's for all of you guys. If you come up with a good B2B SaaS, the multipliers when it comes to valuation is so high. If they subscribe, the churn usually is much lower than anything else. And 3, it's recurrent money. Okay. That's my opinion.
And it's very predictive. Even a lot of, if you notice recent trends, a lot of B2C now is moving towards subscription models, because people now more than ever are trying to look more for recurrent revenue. And one of the best ways to build community actually is to increase the barrier of a user using another platform. So if I am subscribed to a certain delivery app, I'm probably not going to use another one because I'm already paying for, let's say, free deliveries on this one, right? So I'm getting a benefit. There's a whole trend right now around subscription, even in B2C. So when it comes to subscriptions, so subscriptions and SaaS, I think, are the way everyone's trying to move forward, because even businesses like SaaS, because we can predict what our cost is going to be like.
So if you go into SaaS, does this mean that your B2C should be shut down, or can you do both? That's a question we've been asking ourselves a lot.
No, are you doing B2B SaaS only, no B2B2C?
No,
You're gonna do B2B2C.
so
And
I'm
it doesn't
asking
have to
you,
be.
do both? Can you do
Yeah.
both?
Doing both needs to be coordinated, right? And building a separate product, one that's for digital wardrobe, but then online you're offering a B2B SaaS where people basically go and pick something else and they're not correlated. It's a waste of your time and a distraction. Okay. But if you're building something that is coordinated between the online software service that you're providing and the app that the user is using, then yes, it is a coordinated effort. These are usually more complicated kind of problems to solve, because you need to make sure both are working very well. So usually when you're doing a SaaS product, if you focus on one side and do it really well, that's an easy way to get the money. But it's always good to get don't get too distracted. Usually don't get too distracted. Focus on the value, especially if you're talking B2B SaaS. Okay. Sometimes it might be inherent to have a consumer side of it. So it depends what the product is.
I'll just kind of give an example. We've been approached by, I think, 10 plus e-commerce platforms that are either in the UAE or in the GCC or moving from other countries such as India, the US, etc., to the UAE. And their sole purpose was I want to increase my traction or reach, so I can use Kizana's virtual fitting room and the AI to get more people on my app. So this is a SaaS, right? So is this something that we should consider?
Offer a value prop, see what they pay for it. Okay. If this is something that you can scale and you feel the numbers make sense, then you can answer yourself.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at the scalability of this. You need to see how many potential customers am I going to get from this.
Yeah, true.
How many e-commerce platforms are there, really, right? Almost every brand has one, and they're mostly crap. The brand platforms are usually not well done, except if it's big brands. E-commerce platforms are usually more advanced, so a bit easier to integrate with, because they would have a tech team.
Cool.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, you need to look at where do I get most of the value and what allows me to grow as fast as possible. But yeah, if you look at historically what fashion tech companies have done, right, like Farfetch and so on, like they all start in the consumer space, and then the consumer space is very hard to eventually break even, right? It takes a lot of time because the cost of acquisition is very high, and in B2C, especially in fashion. So in fashion specifically, cost of acquisition is crazy high because you're always the dropout rate is quite high because people are always concerned about, is this item going to fit me, right? And you have more than 50% returns in online fashion. So because of that, for example, Farfetch's cost of acquisition, because they sold luxury as well, was above $270 to acquire a customer, but their lifetime value of a client was like $700, right? But it took 3 years. So in 3 years, they would break even on a single client that they brought in. So eventually they went into white labeling, right? Because with white labeling, when you're doing it more as a SaaS, you have lower cost, per item, per client, and you have ongoing predictable revenue, and you don't need to keep on remarketing to your same client. So it's always more expensive to get a new client than to maintain one. But when you have multiple competitive platforms in B2C, it makes it complicated because you're always competing, and you're always competing on, by the way, the biggest thing you're going to compete on, you're going to find out eventually, if you go into being the platform that sells to the end user, you're competing with promotions. Because most people, what they do is they find an item that they like, they open 3 platforms to see which platform is giving a promotion right now. So you need a lot of time and a lot of money. So I think if you can crack the SaaS model, the B2B SaaS model, I think that's because that's where the demand is with the businesses. The businesses that are trying to lower their cost of acquisition would want to use your platform.
And this is what we saw. That's why they're coming to us, right?
But it seems like if you have a certain validation, why are you not doubling down on that at the moment?
We're
Like,
just
you have limited time, right? You have limited time per day. You have limited resources. There is a path that is validated. There's a path that told you, hey, we want your product and we're willing to pay for it. With the limited resources that you have right now, why don't you double down on that and build that? If that one grows significantly, create an R&D department and go play with the B2C as much as you want. But have a validated business that is generating income and that raises investment. Because again, you said that you're having difficulties convincing investors about B2C, but the moment you talk about B2B SaaS, everyone opened their doors. So if the whole point of an early stage startup is to find product market fit, it seems like you found the direction towards it. You might have not found it yet, but it seems like you might be walking there. So why don't you just shelve, again, it's my opinion, but why don't you just shelve the B2C part for a while? Like say, you know what, 6 months, let's put it on the side, go down the B2B SaaS, right? Set a milestone. We hit this milestone, we keep on going there. We don't hit this milestone, we revisit the topic of the B2C.
Yeah.
But again, it's just my opinion. It's up to you.
No, totally valid.
Right? Because there's unlimited things you can do, by the way. You can go omni-channel with SaaS. You can go omni-channel in a way, if I'm walking in a mall, why not have like one of those virtual try-ons where I get scanned and then it recommends items for me from that store. That's a path you take if you're into B2B SaaS.
If we start SaaS, there's a lot of other channels, especially in the retail stuff offline, that we can enable, definitely. But the thing is that, so you asked why didn't we do that? Because I feel like we still believe in the B2C side. We like interacting with users, again, as I said, is fulfilling. But again, from a business perspective and making money and stuff like that, I know.
This is starting to sound like a hobby.
No, it's not.
No, like if you're telling me that because a couple of clients are coming back, it makes you feel fulfilled because they're users.
You don't have to kill it. Eh.
Yeah, keep the app live, but I mean, don't focus on it. Because
So
at the
keep
end of the day,
B2B, let it run. Focus on the B2B SaaS. See if actually they're willing to pay. See how much are they willing to pay. Try to get as many as like businesses on board, and see it. If it goes, it goes. As you said, if it's the money maker, yeah.
like you're a consultant, right?
Mm.
If I'm your client and I come and I tell you, hey, I'm building this technology, and I build the B2C version of it, and I have some users and it's fulfilling. But all of the businesses want to work with me, but I'm not going in that path because I'm still enjoying 25 repeat users. What would you tell me?
You're stupid.
Yeah, I think we can end the session.
I agree. Actually, agree.
Like if you look at exits and valuations, real money comes from SaaS. That's where the real profits come in. B2C is interesting if you can make it work, but again, it's a lot higher risk. If you have a model that is being validated, and it's a lot more risk, but it's a lot more capital.
Mm-hmm.
Because in B2C, about 70% of your capital at some point goes towards marketing and user acquisition. You see what I mean? And that's unpredictable. With the unpredictability of user acquisition as well is that you're at the mercy of algorithms of other platforms. It depends on what Facebook wants to promote now. It depends on what TikTok wants to promote. So that's why cost of acquisition is hard to predict. There's a study that shows that about 70% of venture money raised goes back to Facebook and Google on ads. So investors give you money, you give your money back to Facebook and Google. That's what happens usually, especially in B2C. So if validating you, go for it.
Cool.
This was a very fruitful session. We hope to see you in our next Drill and Grills, inshallah. We hope to see you as well, Joe Hani. Thank you so much.
Abdo, question. He got grilled eventually. Are you happy?
He's self-grilled.
Hey, at least we don't know the name of the.
Man, come on, Abdo. I wanted to get grilled, so I had to self-grill myself.
Yeah. No, guys, as you always know, it's not, the intention is not to just throw things at you, okay? It's to get the best from you. And then obviously Arthur asked you the question in a different way, which is nice. And you basically made your own decision as to how you feel about your direction, okay? And basically you start learning more about yourself, but you just, over time. But once you hear it a few times from external eyes, it exposes you to yourself. It's not like, we're telling you something you didn't know. We just basically showed you a light on yourself, and then you were able to see it a little bit better. Arthur, very well put the way you highlighted the certain items. Looks like you know something about fashion after all.
We made all the B2C mistakes in fashion.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.